Let's get on to cooperative strategies now. This is when unrelated firms work together to achieve a shared objective. Again, like restructuring, there are three types of strategic alliances. In my mind, if you look at it from a corporate perspective, there is a really strong relationship between M&A, potentially looking at restructuring. M&A, particularly if restructuring involves a divestiture. Divestiture is really is the reverse acquisition, a reverse merger. And to some degree, cooperative strategies like alliances are really an alternative way to bring on some of the same capabilities you might get through acquiring a company and owning it. But if you're unable to acquire a company, partnering with it may get you some of those same capabilities. Again, there are three types of alliances. There's a joint venture. This is when two or more firms create a legally independent company to share resources and capabilities to develop a competitive advantage. An example in the work that I've done when I was in our international operations and in MassMutual, we entered into joint ventures both in Taiwan and in Chile. In both instances, we had local partners with whom we formed a separate freestanding life insurance company. We both put resources in. They had local knowledge, local capabilities, and then we brought both our capital and our expertise in insurance to the table. More recently, we've done the same thing in China. We're partnered currently with the State Grid, which is one of the top 8 companies in the world. It's actually the power company for all of the People's Republic of China. And what we've done is we've brought insurance expertise to an insurance company that is related to State Grid. State Grid becomes a potential source for distribution of insurance products to all of its customers that are electric service customers, and certainly name and brand recognition in China. What we brought is capital to the venture, and we brought expertise in life insurance. And so the senior management of the company is comprised of executives from MassMutual, along with in-country executives who are helping run this insurance company that has a license to operate nationally in China. An equity strategic alliance is when two or more firms own a portion of the equity in the venture they've created. It's really only a variation on a joint venture. In fact, I suppose because we have equity stakes in Taiwan, in Chile, we just divested of Taiwan, but in Chile and China, we have an equity strategic alliance. This is a joint venture because there are two of us involved. There's an independent company, but we also maintain each of us a portion of the equity in the venture that we've created. So that makes our joint venture an equity strategic alliance. Non-equity strategic alliances are a little bit different. This is when two or more firms develop a contractual relationship. That is, they agree to work together in one way or another, but they don't have equity in an entity. They don't share ownership in an entity. They have some other type of alliance arrangement. Examples include a licensing arrangement. I might have I might be a soft drink manufacturer. I might license to a local partner my formula so that they can manufacture and distribute my product. A distribution agreement may also be where I have a product that they will actually sell. Supply contracts I might provide, or they might provide to me specific resources, or outsourcing commitments. These are arrangements where, for example, I might outsource my frontline servicing capabilities to a firm that does that as a matter of course, so that I don't need to do that. I might outsource my back office, which is my capability to do my day-to-day administration, to a third party. It means I don't have to build that capability in my organization. I get to leverage off of somebody else's capability. But in those instances, it's purely contractual. I'm paying a fee either to have them perform a service or to provide me with goods or to distribute my goods and services. But I'm not the party with whom I've entered into the arrangement has no equity stake, and I have no equity stake in a separate entity. So why might I want to enter into a strategic alliance with a third party? Well, let me let me just start with assuming that you're going to read this in more detail, but I'm just going to highlight some of the reasons which, as you'll see, look very much like many of the reasons we talked about in the context of M&A. There may be new sources of revenue. You're expanding into businesses you wouldn't otherwise be able to expand into, markets you wouldn't otherwise be able to expand into. For example, using our joint venture in China as an example, it's very difficult for a foreign insurer to get a national license in China, actually virtually impossible. By entering into a joint alliance, a strategic alliance with State Grid, we were in a position to be able to and move into the Chinese market, which by definition will create additional sources of revenue for us as a result not only of our investment but our continuing stake in this growing business. You can create vehicles for firm growth. Again, strategic alliance like the one I just described will be an element of our growth in our international operations, our international life operations at MassMutual. It enhances the speed of responding to market opportunities, technological changes, global conditions. Again, if you're not in a position to be able to build something quickly, partnering with someone maybe gives you some of the same capabilities that acquiring a party, again, in the M&A context. The potential is very similar. The level of control may be different. It also allows you to gain new knowledge and experience to increase your competitiveness. Well, what are some of the risks associated with corporate level strategies? Again, I think the book does this, it deals with this fairly well in this chart. But just again, remember that if you have inadequate agreements, your expectations may not be well articulated to one another. Your partners may choose to act opportunistically. That is, your motivations may be different, and I may act when I'm benefiting, and my partner may act when he benefits. And unless our interests are fully aligned, that opportunistic approach may actually create disparities in terms of our expectations. Partners' competencies may be misrepresented. I mentioned due diligence in terms of an acquisition. You really need to perform due diligence in the context of a strategic alliance as well. You shouldn't presume that a firm is capable of doing what it says it's capable of doing. And so much like an acquisition, one of the risks is you enter into an arrangement with a firm that you think is going to meet your needs and ultimately is unable to meet those needs. Partners fail to make available the complementary resources and capabilities that were committed. This goes back to having inadequate agreements. If your expectations aren't set out clearly, you may end up in some substantial at a substantial disadvantage from where you thought you might be. I guess understanding those risks is important. You should be able to then apply the risk mitigation and risk management approaches that are outlined in the book to address these concerns.